kind of like with Def Leppard, maybe like starting a little later in our lives, they've always kind of been there. The Foo Fighters have always kind of been there. Mostly because they've been on like modern rock radio and in commercials and like on SNL and shit. Whereas like Def Leppard was really only on like the radio stations that our parents listened to. And like, you know, they were like CDs and albums that like we found at discounted and stuff. Whereas like Foo Fighters had like new albums.
I don't know, bro. Like I just heard like a YouTube ad that they remixed Pour Some Sugar on Me. So I feel like Def Leppard's kind of everywhere too.
Yeah. I just remember after I started listening to the Foo Fighters and like I watched their documentary, like unlike Def Leppard, who had been around for a lot longer, I feel like the Foo Fighters had the benefit of like being like the rock band, you know, like at award shows and stuff. Dave talks about this in Back and Forth, but he's like, we kind of became like the default rock band for a couple of years. So like award shows were like, we need a rock band to play. Fucking get the Foo Fighters. You know, they have an album coming out or whatever. And they were like winning awards and they were kind of like, you know, when you see those billboards and it's like, oh, the best music. And it's like you see one pop artist, one rap artist, one like rock artist or whatever. Foo Fighters were always kind of like there. And they did a remix with Deadmau5, who was big in 2012. So it's like they've always, even if you didn't really listen to them like as a rock fan, like they were always kind of on your radar. Whether it was like you making fun of their dumb name, which the band always does, and I find that hilarious. Or if like you were a fan of Nirvana or whatever. Yeah, speaking of Nirvana, I don't know. I feel like we admire Dave Grohl for different reasons. Which is another one of those like Origami Angel things where it's kind of like a match made in heaven where like, you know, Origami Angel, they have insane like metal drum grooves and stuff like that. But they also have like references to Pokemon and blah, 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 and like cool melodic lines and things like that. Foo Fighters is kind of the same thing. Cause like I was drawn to the Foo Fighters because of their catchy melodies and the screaming and everything like that. And I'm sure, you know, one of the first things you really listens to were like the drums, and you kind of knew Dave Grohl as the drummer of like Smells Like Teen Spirit. I don't know. Like, tell me about like the first time you really like started honing in on the Foo Fighters.
I don't remember exactly when. It just kind of happened. But it was after Wasting Light.
Okay.
Pretty much immediately after that album came out.
Yeah.
Because I remember watching the Grammys and being really mad that it didn't win.
Yeah. Well, because I think that was the one of, if not the first time that they had an album I think it was nominated for Album of the Year.
Or something
like that. Some big award that it didn't win. But yeah, man, I don't know. I mean, like Learn to Fly and like Everlong and Best of You and like The Pretender, they all came out like while we were growing up. And I remember our friend Josh, I have a very specific memory of us walking past the Oak Forest High School, and he had his iPod and he was playing music for me. And like we were listening to other popular rock artists at the time. So there was like Red Hot Chili Peppers and he showed me a little bit of Trivium and blah, blah, blah. But he also showed me The Pretender by the Foo Fighters. And I was like, oh, you got Foo Fighters on here? Because I'd heard the name before. And he was like, yeah, I think this is the only song. This is like the only song I like, this one and like this one. And he showed me Everlong. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then at some point, I might have mentioned this on the podcast, but the way that I found my way to Foo Fighters was I was sick of listening to 80s hair metal and classic rock bands. And I was at a point in my life where I was just trying to listen to as much as I could. And I was legally downloading all of their discographies to my parents' computer and then not listening to them. So I had all of Aerosmith's discography. That's a different that's a different collection of music, if you know what I mean. And I like Aerosmith's and like Black Sabbath, I think I had the discography for. And I just wasn't listening to them. And I realized it might have been because like a lot of these older bands started to like run out of steam, you know, naturally into like the 2010s or whatever. So I Googled what are the top rock bands of like modern rock bands, you know? And one name came up on all of these lists, Foo Fighters. And I thought, I think I've heard of them before. And I started looking up their top songs, and I downloaded all of their discography, which at the time was only up until Echo, Silence, Patience, and Grace. And I listened to all of the singles. So I listened to like My Hero and Everlong and Monkey Wrench, which I had known from like Guitar Hero 2. And I really liked them. And then they announced that Wasting Light was coming out. And I remember going to Best Buy with my mom because I wanted to get the album. And I saw it on this display rack in the front of the store. And it was for Father's Day. And it was like gifts that Dad will like. And I remember on the record, like on the CD over the plastic, there was a sticker that said like, please play at max volume. And I was like, that's really cool. And I bought it and I played it, and it became a really formative experience for me.
At max volume?
At max volume.
Nice.
What does that mean?
It doesn't, no, just because it told you to play at max volume.
Oh, I thought you were going to scream into the microphone.
Just like, System of a Down had an album called Steal This Album. It's like, did you steal it?
Oh, that's right.
If you bought it, you're doing it wrong.
So yeah, and I played the hell out of that CD. I loved Wasting Light, and I that was the moment. Like I guess it wasn't a singular moment, but that was the album that really made me feel like I had found an artist, like a band that I could like resonate with. And then it was only a matter of time before they were the only thing that I listened to. There it is again. There's our tinnitus. I don't know if you can hear. I don't think you can hear that, but it kind of sounds like.
Kind of sounds like.
Yeah, kind of like that. So, yeah, man, and then it was just kind of. It was just kind of downhill from there. I guess downhill in a good way. Like when you're riding a bike, it's easier to ride a bike downhill than uphill. So you're not falling to your doom. You're just like, whoa, this is fun. So it was all downhill. To this day, I think they're my favorite like band of all time. And you've talked on the podcast before about how sometimes your favorite thing will sit at the top no matter what, because it's just like objectively, that there are better things, but so it's like I've tried to dance around that sort of my question of who's your favorite artist, and I'll say, my favorite band is the Foo Fighters, but my favorite artist, and then I'll make it a separate person or thing, and that always changes. But the Foo Fighters are always going to be up there. Yeah, man, I got to see them live at Wrigley, and you got to see them live at Wrigley.
I did,
but we saw them for two different tours. I got to see them for the Sonic Highways tour.
I saw them for the Concrete and Gold tour.
Yeah, which I didn't know on your keys. If you want to show that to the camera, you have a fucking Concrete and Gold keychain, which I had never seen before, which is the coolest keychain I think I've...
Fucking focus, motherfucker.
I don't think I've ever...
And it spins.
The hell was that?
It spins.
That was probably one of my most favorite concerts of all time, and I have a lot of memories from that concert, particularly because for Sonic Highways, I know they made it a point, every big city that they went to, they made it a point to only bring on artists to open for them that were from that city. So in Chicago, I remember they had Cheap Trick open. They didn't have Local H because that was for Metallica. I don't remember who else they had alongside Cheap Trick. But seeing Cheap Trick was really fun because I liked seeing Surrender live. And they also did another song that I forget that I liked. Yeah, and then the Foo Fighters went on, and it was just screaming for 2.5 hours at Wrigley Field. And I had all my like Cubs merch on because my family are like big Cubs fans. And it was really surreal. And that night also happens to be, I forget what the connection was. I think it was Dave Grohl's mom and his cousin, the same cousin, and he told this story on stage. It was the same cousin that took him to his very first show at the Cubby Bear in Chicago, his very first like punk show. And we all collectively sang happy birthday to both of them, which was awesome because he brought them on stage and we all sang happy birthday. And he was like, she took me to my very first fucking show at the Cubby Bear right across the street. And we were all like, yeah, the Cubby Bear. And I'd never been to the Cubby Bear before. But it's this really noteworthy bar downtown Chicago across from Wrigley, which is really cool. So, yeah, man. What about you? What about your Foo Fighters concert experience? Because where was it? Because it was also at Wrigley.
It was also at Wrigley.
Yeah. Do you remember who opened?
Oh, it was a band where the singer was trying to be Freddie Mercury. Your Body Talks. Body Talks is like the biggest song. I forget what they're called. And then before them, it was like some like Nirvana sounding like punk band.
That sounds about right.
But I can't remember what that band was called.
The song Body Talks. We're gonna figure this out.
Here's an answer from Wikipedia. Body Talk is a song by American band The Deal.
The Deal?
Not The Deal. No. Hang on.
David's gonna pull that up.
I'm gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I honestly think I had a really good time despite Sonic Highways being my least favorite Foo Fighters album. I went all out for that. Though, I went all out for that. Like album release because I got a media package that came with that wall flag, the Sonic Highways, which I will argue
the Struts.
That's
what they're called, and the other one was Milk Belly.
Milk Belly,
like
Belly. Like the way that I used to say milk.
Yeah,
Milk Belly. I don't like that.
Yeah, the really shitty thing about this is this concert is kind of tainted now.
Why is that?
Because I saw it with a particular someone.
Oh.
Which sucks, but still,
it's still a big deal. It's still kind of a fun. Well, so we kind of talked about our favorite Foo Fighters album. Both of us have done rankings of our favorite albums. David helped me with a video series that I did when I got back on YouTube in 2020, or was it 2019? I think it was February of 2020.
Yeah.
I started a video series called Happy Foo Year because we were both under the impression that the Foo Fighters were about to release an album. And then the funniest thing happened, to quote Bo Burnham. And that video series took like a year to finish when I told myself it was going to take like a couple months. And I looked at every Foo Fighters album and I did a cover from a song from each album, a lot of which David helped me out with either editing or like playing drums or acting in the videos when we started doing like music videos for him. And so our lists look a little different.
And still waiting on both Arrows and Stacked Actors.
Yeah, because Arrows, I don't know what happened with Arrows. I don't know why we didn't edit the video. I think I was just being a pain in the ass, and I was like, this song has to get out and into the world. And then Stacked Actors, David recorded drums for Taylor when that news broke, and I still haven't recorded anything for it. But we got some Foo Fighters footage and things that I'm sitting on. But
yeah, I think we are pretty similar in that like One by One and Sonic Highways are like on the bottom.
Yeah,
and then up top we have Wasting Light, Color in the Shape, and Nothing Left to Lose.
Yeah, and then the
middle gets a little hazy, but
There Is Nothing Left to Lose is one of the Foo Fighters albums that I have on vinyl. Color in the Shape is the other one, thanks to David. And yeah, man, I don't know. I am just so grateful to the Foo Fighters to not only have given me a chance to tap back into that creative, because like if I hadn't have started back on YouTube with you, I don't think I would have been as creatively stimulated throughout the pandemic, because I was making content from my bedroom with a bunch of gear that I had bought to better my creative endeavors. And I got my computer and the interface that we're recording this podcast on now, and this microphone that I'm recording, and my camera that I'm filming David on, and like, you know, these things that beautiful. And going back and getting to watch that series as it progresses, I don't know, it just makes me feel really, really proud of the work that we did, and very happy and grateful to the Foo Fighters to have been the catalyst for that sort of growth. And then Medicine at Midnight came out, and I think our opinions differ most when it comes to that album, honestly, because I hardly ever go back and listen to that album. There are some songs on it that I enjoy particularly, but for the most part, you know, it just kind of coasts along very, very easily. And I think you really liked that when it came out.
I think it's a fun album.
Yeah.
I still like it.
Definitely fun. But I remember that was a big deal when like the Foo Fighters came out with Medicine at Midnight, because it was like they were one of those artists that had planned to put out music before the pandemic happened, and then the pandemic happened, and then we all had to adjust in a lot of different ways, and musicians are not exempt from that. And they
because usually I hate when like the first single is my favorite song in the album.
Yeah.
And in this case, the lead single was my least favorite song in the album.
Yeah. So was that Shame Shame?
Yeah. That worked out nicely. It's like the complete opposite of that.
Right. And like Shame Shame, you know, by no means is it like a bad song, but I don't know. I think the same thing happened with that song that happened with Something from Nothing and Concrete, or Sonic Highways in general, where I liked it a lot more the first time that I listened to it, because I was a little biased and I was like, yeah, I like the Foo Fighters. This is a good song. When really it was like very forgettable, and you know, but that's the artist bias, you know?
Yeah, but shit, dude. And now the fact that Love Dies Young is like probably the last song now.
Yeah.
It's like, it's kind of fitting.
Yeah. And Love Dies Young was actually the song that we did a cover of. Yeah. And it was like, it was really hard to pick a song from that album to do, but I was like, that one fits really well. And the montage at the end of the video that we did meant a lot to me. So like, obviously, like the Foo Fighters, whatever they end up doing, in light of Taylor Hawkins passing, you know, I'm always going to support them, and I'm going to be supportive of them no matter what. I'm glad that we both had the opportunity to see them at all, you know, and they have been around for a lot of like big growths as musicians, creative growths and stuff, you know, as artists for the both of us. And I still play their songs live at shows, and you know, and I'm sure we both listen to them just as much as we ever did, you know.
Yeah, I'm just mad that we can't go to this concert,
which is the reason why we wanted to bring up the Foo Fighters today.
Yeah, because I don't think we mentioned it, but like the Kia Forum in like LA, the cheapest ticket is $414.
Yeah, so the show that the Foo Fighters and the Hawkins family are putting on to remember Taylor, and they're bringing all their musician friends. Like, they're bringing Rush.
The lineup, bro.
The lineup is insane.
Geddy Lee, Alex Lifeson. They got the Queen coming. They got Stuart Copeland.
You got Chad Smith from Red Hot Chili Peppers. You got.
It's like what are they just gonna show? Are they like playing like a set? You know, it's like, what is that even gonna be? Or are they just gonna like say some things?
You know what? At the very least, you know what's gonna happen. They're gonna film it. They're gonna film it, and they're gonna like release it, you know, as a concert video, and then they're gonna like send all the proceeds to Taylor's family, you know, something like that. I can guarantee that's gonna be something that they do.
Yeah, but
yeah, so it's like the only way that we're gonna be able to go is getting like scalper tickets like close to the event, but they sold out in like probably minutes, you know, because like I hadn't checked the tickets when they were still available, but we had talked about like going to LA and seeing the one at the Forum, and you know, that's not going to happen. It sucks a lot because like, you know, it's a band that means a lot to both of us, and obviously like we would kill to be there, But you know, it's just one of those things where like, you know, we're gonna be there in spirit, or we're actually gonna be there if we could literally kill someone and get 2 tickets.
Yo, government, where's that 4th stimmy, bro? Me and Nick trying to go see Foo Fighters.
Yeah, where's that Hawkins stimmy? So, you know, I like, definitely, you know, they're gonna go down in history no matter what they end up doing next. If they break up after the show, or if they stay together and like, you know, Dave just drums for the shows and they get like a touring drummer or whatever. I'm still gonna support them no matter what, but it's a shame, man. Gone too soon for sure. But that just goes to show, like, I don't know, the last artist that happens to for me, where it was like, fuck, man, like I'm never gonna be able to see them again, was when Chester Bennington passed away from Linkin Park. And I know Linkin Park isn't like your jam, but like similar to the way that like Taylor's death kind of affected the way that I thought about, like, I don't know, what opportunities do I have? I was like, I've never seen Linkin Park and now I'll never get to. And it was like, you couldn't even say like, oh yeah, they haven't been touring for years because like this one artist, you know, this one member of the band had been hospitalized or whatever. It was like, no, it was just out of the blue. Like I think the Foo Fighters had a festival show that they had to play like the day that, you know, Taylor passed.
Yeah, that's when they found him. When they
Yeah.
were supposed to like go on the stage or something.
Which is, yeah, man.
And I think that's why it hit so hard, like more than Neil did for me.
Yeah.
Because when Neil went, like Rush was already done,
Yeah.
so it was kind of like, oh, it really sucks.
Mhm.
But it's like it was already over.
Yeah.
Where Taylor, like, that probably killed the band, which is even worse.
Yeah, I mean, because like from the sounds of it, you know, like a year ago or whatever, Dave Grohl was like, "Yeah, I'm probably gonna do this until I die. Like, I'm gonna do music and tour, and you know, this band is gonna be together for as long as I can have them stay together." And you know, now,
Could you imagine how Dave felt?
no, I can't imagine how he
Like,
still
bro,
feels.
like, first Kurt happened,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, with Nirvana.
And then, like, he like quit music for a while, and then he started Foo Fighters.
Yeah,
And then, like, Taylor, his other brother,
yeah.
now gone.
And it's like I saw a really disturbing parallel where it was like on this tour, like the last show that they played, I think Dave made a point to they were doing a Queen song and Dave got behind the drums and Taylor got up front to sing. And Dave went on this whole monologue and like Taylor, they exchanged words together and Dave was like, I have the best fucking singer in the whole world. And Taylor turned back to him and he was like, well, I got the best fucking drummer in the whole world. And like, this is like crazy. And then like the day after, you know, fucking everything changed. And, you know, and then I saw someone make a comment on that video from like the last show ever. And they were like, fuck, man, Dave in 2 different bands has lost his singer. And it's like, that fucking blows. It makes you really, really, you know, stop to think. Like, I don't know. It's like I never knew Taylor, and I will never know any of the members of the Foo Fighters. But like, I don't know. It's like you grow up with them, and or they grow alongside you, and they see all of these like personal changes in you as a person, and you watch these documentaries, and you're like, oh yeah, like. These people, like, I feel like I know them, you know, and I listen to their music and I feel like I know them through their music. And then they're just fucking gone. And it's like, that sucks a lot. So, you know, as much as I'd like to go to this mass memorial service, like for the public, which essentially this concert's going to be, like, I'm sure each of these musician friends are going to get on stage and say a little something about Taylor. And it's like, yeah, as much as I'd like to be there, you know, the reality is I don't think I'll be able to. But you know, enough harping on that. I think, you know, I want to celebrate his life and the music of the Foo Fighters and the music of Taylor too. Like Taylor had his band, the Taylor Hawkins and the Coattail Riders. I listened to a couple of songs of theirs and I found a couple that I really liked. And he was kind of everywhere. He was the drummer for Alanis Morissette, like right before he joined the Foo Fighters, and so he was doing shows with her and, you know. just very prolific musician. Yeah, man, we both posted something like when we found out. I think I did a cover of Ain't It the Life, which is the first studio album that Taylor like drummed on, and you did you do a drum cover of Run?
I did, but that was like years ago.
Yeah.
I just re-uploaded it.
Yeah, so like, I don't know. It's one of those things. But like I'm still going to be playing their music for the rest of my life, and now I get to, celebrate Taylor's life along with that. So Foo Fighters, Dave, Pat, Chris, Rami,
I think that's all of them.
yeah, and Taylor, if you're watching, thank you for everything from both of us, because like y'all are awesome and your music is fucking cool and you're great guys, and we'll see you again someday, I'm sure, but until then we're just gonna keep playing your music and trying to be like you.